everyone, this is the first video of the homemade Smashbook start to finish series. This video is going to be the binder. So creating this. It's just easier if I do this first, because then I can kind of load my wires and then get the hinge and so on and so forth. So this is the part I do first. So like I said in the supply video, you need some chipboard or some really sturdy cardboard. And these pieces you are going to cut. Mine are pre-cut just to save some time on the video, so they're not too long. Your chipboard pieces are going to be cut at 7 inches by 8.5 inches. So you'll need 2 pieces of that. And then for the spine, you're going to need a piece that is 1 1/8 by 8.5. So that's that. Sorry. To cover these, I like to wrap my covers. If you're using chipboard, you can do the front and the back like you would and then file the edges or whatnot, but I just like the wrapped look better. So I have these 2 pieces of plaid pink, and then I have this piece which is going to be my spine. So in order to wrap this, I cut these 2 pieces at 8 by 9.5. So we are going to go ahead and do these 2 pieces now. And I just do it very simple way. I'm going to take my ATG gun, I'm going to go all the way around all 4 sides here. And I'm not too worried about getting all the way to the edge because it's going to be wrapped. And then I use these big glue sticks from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to go ahead, this one's almost out too, I think. And I just use this to fill up the whole middle space just so the paper will stay real smooth. So I just coat it really good with the glue stick. So there's that, and then I'm just going to take my paper and I'm going to try to center this as best as I can. Just like this. So it's kind of even. And you may hear some background noise from my kids. They are kind of in an argument or something. See, now there's this bubble in here, and I don't have a brayer, so I just use my bone folder, and I go along the entire thing and just smooth it all down and make sure I go over those edges where the score tape is, so it's all nice and smoothed out, just like that. And then I'm going to just fold it back on itself and crease, so that way it gives me my guide to cut my corners. And I'm sorry, this side is like so eye crazy, but it'll be covered in a minute. So then I'm gonna chop my corners. So I'm going to just take off about that much. You don't want to go all the way to the edge because you do want it to wrap to where there's not a corner sticking out. So I don't go all the way. Okay, so there's that. And then this is where I'm going to take my score tape, or I've used, I don't remember what it's called, tacky tape, I don't know. Scrapbookpal.com sells score tape for really excellent prices, but they also have their own brand of a very similar tape, and it's like $1 cheaper a roll. It works the exact same. I went through a whole roll. I used it for Caleb's book. I used it for my book, and a few other small projects. And it's the exact same stuff, pretty much. Nothing has come apart or fallen off of anything that we've used it on. So, it's pretty good stuff. So I'm just going all the way around. So I know that this paper is definitely going to stay. Just like that, and then I just take my bone folder and smooth this down to make sure that it's stuck, and then I just go and peel all the pieces off. Just like that. And then this is where I just kind of fold it back on itself. And squish it down. And then these little ends that stick out here, I just kind of crease in. And then fold this piece over. And do the same to this side. My lamp is vibrating. And then squish that part down. So I got that fairly centered. That's not too bad. So then that's going to be one of the cover pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and pause so I can do the other piece, and then I will come back and show you how to do the spine piece. So I will be right back. Okay, so I have both of my cover pieces covered. I have them this side down just because they have such crazy patterns. I don't want you guys' eyes to go crazy, so I'm going to keep them this side down for a few minutes and talk about the spine piece. Now this piece is going to be my spine, and this is what I mean about spine right here. So it will wrap over, I think this is about 1 inch on either side, and then the whole middle piece, or spine piece here. So that's the piece that we're doing now. And this piece measures, what does it measure? This is 3 7/8 by 10. So I'm gonna flip it over and just stick it on my mat. And I'm going to tape down this little piece that's going to go on the inside of the spine here, because if you look inside of the if you look inside here, I don't know if I can get it at a good angle. There we go. You can still see behind the hinge down in there, and I didn't want it to show the chipboard color, so I just picked a piece that matches the spine. So I'm just gonna tape that to this, and this is 1 1/8 by, I think it's like 8 1/4, something like that. So I'm just gonna tape that on really quick, and this just makes it all kind of blend so you don't see the cardboard or the chipboard or whatever you're using for the spine piece. So I'm just gonna kind of stick this on roughly centered, and then I will go over it with my bone folder just to make sure that it's all stuck down nice and good. And I'm just using my ATG gun for this. So that part is done. Now I'm going to try to center it. Well, actually, before we do that, we need to score this piece. I'm sorry. I don't know where my brain is. I had 2 kids stay home from school today just because there's parent-teacher conferences. So it's kind of late in the afternoon, and I wanted to get this done earlier, but I could not. So, sorry. I'm a scatterbrain right now. Okay, so this is the piece that is 3 7/8 by 10. So you're going to score this at 1/4 of an inch on each side. So I'm just gonna, I have a hard time scoring over here, so I'm gonna score on the outside. And you just go in 1/4 of an inch and down. And I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing on this side. And that's that for that. So that's all we're gonna score for this one. And I'm just gonna fold this over very carefully. This is really thin paper, and I don't want it to tear or anything. So I'm just gonna give that a good crease, and then I'm going to undo it. The same with this side. I'm hoping I'm getting all this in the camera too. So just like that. And give that one a good crease, and like that. So actually these 2 side pieces here, I just use ATG tape. I don't use score tape because it makes it too thick. And I've never had one come up yet. So I think I'm pretty good because there will be score tape on top of this on the other side of it. So I'm not too worried about it coming up. And then I'm just gonna carefully push that down, and again, just go over it with my bone folder. Make sure it's nice and tight there. So this is the piece, let me show you, that's going to wrap around the front and the back. And instead of having a raw edge, I wrapped it so it has a nice finish. That's the reason that I do this. We'll do the side. And depending on how much you want to hang over or wrap over on your book, you can always adjust the measurements. I just like the way this one looks, just having an inch of it on there. So there is that. Okay, so now we are good to try to center the spine piece, if I can find it now. Okay, here it is. So this I'm going to kind of eyeball, and then I actually pull out my ruler and I do measure it. So that kind of looks about like the middle to me. So I'm going to measure from the bottom, and it should be 3/4 of an inch from the top and 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. And about right there is good. And then it's going to come over an inch on each side. So if you don't want to do all of this tedious measuring, you really don't have to. You can kind of eyeball it, but I'm a little picky at making sure that mine lines up. So it's actually going to be 1 1/8 from side to side, or close to 1 1/8. So this takes a few minutes. I don't know if you guys probably can't see what I'm doing all that much. So that's about, so move over just a tad bit. And this, I trace this piece because I want to know exactly where to put it back at. So I do just trace along this center piece because I'm not going to glue it down yet. So then I know exactly where my spine piece is going to go. And then I have a spacer that I did forget to grab. And this is the spacer I use for any type of hinge piece that I'm going to make for any of my binders. And this is just 2 pieces of the same chipboard. This is, I think it's a medium weight chipboard. It's not real heavy. And I just adhered 2 pieces together. So I know when I put this on here, I can space this and use that as a guide for when I stick this piece on. Will be like that, and then I know when I fold it, it's going to give it some leeway. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and glue this down. And I do use score tape for this. So I don't want the spine moving at all. That would be kind of terrible. And I use 3 strips. 1 on each side and then 1 down the middle. Just to make sure that nothing is going anywhere. Especially with kids, because they're a lot rougher on their stuff. Well, at least I know mine are anyway. Then I'm just gonna peel those off and apparently throw them on the floor. That's where it landed. Okay, there we go. And I had a couple pieces that went over, so I'm just gonna fold them over. Make sure that my pattern is going the right direction. And I'm going to turn this sideways so I can see the marks I've made. So that's the drawing that I did, so I know where my spine is going. Okay, let me double check my paper. And I'm going to line this up with my outline here. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to push it down. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to just smooth this out, make sure that it sticks really well. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my cover pieces, but I'm going to put it, this side should be facing down, but like I said, because these are so crazy, I don't want to hurt you guys' eyes. So I'm gonna just measure it with this side. So I want to use my spacer and put that in there. So I'll hold that, and then I'm going to scoot this over and make sure that's lined up. So that's pretty even. And I'm going to pull that out. Again, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to trace along this line here. So that way I know exactly where to place my score tape. So I'm going to do the same with this side. Put my hinges in there. I don't move my paper too much. And then I'm going to push this and make sure that this is lined up. And then pull that out, and I'm going to draw, oh, it moved, see? Gotta be careful. Push it back out and measure it again. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to draw this line for this side. And that's how I know where to place my score tape. I did get, oh, I'm gonna have to grab a big eraser. Here we go. And I got some pencil marks right on the edge. So I'm just gonna erase those really quick. There we go. No big deal. Okay, So now I'm going to take my score tape and I'm going to run it along, I don't know if you guys can see that little pencil mark. There we go. I'm going to run it on this side of the pencil. So it's got about 1/8 of an inch spacing in between. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And I don't go all the way down to the bottom. I just do the length of the spine as my guide. And then I'll do this side. Okay, so there is the score tape. And then I'm going to make sure that my pattern is facing the right direction again. My bone folder. And go squish that down. So I'm also going to put a strip right here along these edges, about the same length, because this is what's going to be wrapped around to the front and the back side of the book. And you definitely want it to not go anywhere. So not quite all the way to the edge, but close enough. And then just tear that off. And I'll just kind of smooth that down. And then again, make sure that double check your pattern. And then start with this side. And just peel these pieces off. Then I'm going to take this piece of my back cover and I'm going to line it up. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see where I'm lining this up at. So I'm going to use, again, this pencil line here as my guide. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this a little bit. Make sure it's lined up, and then I'm going to press it down and I'm going to flip it over and go over it again with my bone folder. Make sure that it's nice and smoothed out there. So that is one part of the binder. The other part is going to be the other side, same thing. And sorry about these crazy patterns, but it's kind of what I have. They will be covered, but we're not going to cover those inside pieces until after we put the hinge on. So these are going to stay like this for a while, but you won't have to see it in all the videos. So again, you may be able to see a little better on this side because of the camera angle. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to line it up with that first pencil mark and try to get it as straight as possible, like that, and then flip it over again. Sorry about my phone ringing. So I'm gonna smooth it all down, and that will form the spine. So spine is good, except these flaps here. Let me zoom out again. These two flaps here, the one on the top and the bottom, and those we're going to wrap over to the front. So again, score tape or red liner tape or something that is going to be really strong. I'm going to run a strip right along this edge, and then I'm also going to run a strip on the chipboard and the cardboard pieces here all the way across. And I'm going to do the same with the top up here all the way along that edge, and then again right along the top. It's kind of hard to see that one. Okay, so there's that. Then again, I'm going to take my bone folder and just kind of squish it down. make sure that that tape sticks on that side. And it makes it easier to peel up the liner. So we're going to do the bottom one first here. And just peel these off. And there's a little bit of hangover on this one, so I'm going to just fold it in. And then you're just going to take this piece and you're going to fold it up and just push it. So that way it sticks really well. And then I'm going to flip this around because it's easier for me to fold up than it is down. So we'll lift this piece up and fold it over and squish that down too. So then I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to kind of push it into that crease and give it a little bit of help creasing so it doesn't bubble. And then I'll do this side just to kind of help it out. And then now we have a binder. This is going to be the holder of our smash book. So that is it. That's how you do the binder. Like I said, we will cover these pieces. I have mine cut. So if you want to go ahead and cut your inside pieces, I'm just using these little animal prints. Because like I said, this is for a little girl. And the reason it doesn't cover the entire inside is because the hinge piece will go here and it will come over. And then we will cover that. So the hinge is going to go over about this far. And then this piece covers that. So this will be on the inside. That's why we're not going to adhere those pieces yet. But if you want to cut these ahead of time, these are measured at, let me check. Oh, inside pieces, 6 1/8 by 8 1/4. So if you want to cut those and set those aside with the binding, fantastic. And we will get to that. Basically, that's one of the last steps that we'll do is glue these pieces in to the inside covers. So this is good to go. We're going to set this aside, or you can always come back and do this at the end if you want. Your choice. But that concludes the first part of the Homemade Smashbook series of the binding. So I will see you all in the next video. Bye!